If you want rain, NASCAR's got your back. Plus, the second coming of Josh Berry and my top 5. All next up on the Weekend Debrief. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Weekend Debrief, coming to you from my Charlotte studio. It's really just an office, shared office. I'm your host, James. Today we're going to talk about Martinsville. What a weekend. No trucks, but Xfinity back at Martinsville. Really great to see that series back at that speedway. A lot of history for the Xfinity Series at Martinsville. Can't wait to look at the race, and also the Blue-Emu Maximum Pain Relief 500 was on Sunday. It was supposed to be a Saturday night race. We're kind of going to talk about that because the weather really hampered the entire weekend, whether it was Xfinity or the Cup Series. The weather did plague them, and it was a logistical nightmare to say the least. I really do feel bad for team members, crew members, officials, basically everybody that was at the track. I was at the track too, but I wasn't working, so it was more of a leisure trip for me, so I didn't mind it. If when you're working, these rain delays really do wear on you, and it's expected yet kind of unexpected too. You really just have to just sit with your hands in your pocket and wait and just hope the weather clears up. NASCAR is able to drive the track in an efficient amount of time before weather moves back in, and we can get the racing resumed. And that's the big thing. There's always this push to resume the racing, and that once racing resumes, it will help with the weather. And yes, there has been many instances in the past where you can look up and NASCAR pushed the start, and the start of the race happened, and because of that, the weather subsided and the race went on without a hitch. Yeah, that has happened, but that does not mean it will happen again. If anything, we're as an audience too, we're watching these drivers get into very dangerous circumstances when they're running on track with damp conditions, especially with slick tires. I know NASCAR did recently test those rain tires at Martinsville with the damp conditions on the track, and it was a very progressive move forward, a very progressive step, because I think we all learned our lessons from 1995 or 6 when Terry Labonte tested it in the pouring rain. Pouring rain was a little too much for the NASCARs back then. I think, we understand that damp conditions, slick conditions are what we're going to want. But even so, when I was watching the Blue-Emu Maximum Pain Relief 500, you could just see not only pit road get soaked during the 40-lap green flag run, but if you're really looking up and you kind of saw where even James Davidson got knocked up on the outside, how much he had to fight to save the car, not just because there was marbles or rubber up on the top groove. The top groove was wet, all right? The water that comes down is getting behind the safer barrier and the wall. People aren't really always thinking about that aspect of it. That's pooling up and then it's draining down the track. Remember, these tracks are banked, water's gonna go down. So now if you think about it too, when you have a lot of water coming down and you're creating this almost stream, cars could hydroplane over that. That's so dangerous. Have you ever hydroplaned on the highway? I don't like that. That scares me. So yeah, the weather was quite the thing to handle. I think the biggest annoyance of the weather was it was very evident from the start of the weekend that it was probably gonna rain out, both Friday and Saturday. And I commend NASCAR for trying everything they could on both Friday and Saturday to get either the race started or just trying to get the races to a halfway point so that they can be official. Because I understand when you have to call a rain delay, that just throws the whole schedule for everyone out of whack. So yeah, it's understandable that NASCAR was trying their hardest, and I always commend NASCAR for doing that. They have the resources to try and drive the track. They have the ability to wait and see what the weather will do. 100% commend them for that. But something that they kind of do when they do try to push and make the race happen is they make other people look bad. And by other people, I mean specifically short tracks. Short tracks normally have to call the race. If it's gonna rain, the weather's inclement, it's a decision of listen, we don't want our people coming here. We don't want anyone coming here. Let's everyone just be safe, stay home, enjoy your night. We'll get the race in another time. And there's my one gripe. someone had to come back and forth between this race. It was a little annoying, and I understand that, I could just have watched it at home, but I wanted to be there. I feel bad for everyone who had to go back and forth, because NASCAR could have just been quick and said, listen, we'll have a Sunday doubleheader. I get we're gonna go up against the Masters, and we're not gonna be on network television. Let's take the ratings hit. I know we're trying to make this a Saturday night race. It just didn't work out. Let's move on. Like, cut the losses and not really spread everybody so thin, but I get it. I get NASCAR's going to try and do everything they can to get the race either resumed or underway in some fashion, and you can't really hate NASCAR for doing that, so double-edged sword. So on to the Xfinity race. I enjoyed that on Sirius XM radio. That was a wonderful race to listen to, just to enjoy the call. And Josh Berry to me is a guy this year who is going to be under a microscope. And not to be like an analyst, like I know anything, but I had him under a microscope because he's been here before in the Xfinity Series. Not to say that he had the fairest or unfairest shake, but he's had an opportunity before, so it's not his first time around in this series. So to me, the pressure is there. He needs to perform, and he has been performing. And this 8 car has been great the last couple of seasons, especially with Taylor Moyer on top of the pit box and in the garage area. He's done a fantastic job with that team. It's evident. It's a shame that they haven't won yet until this weekend. Obviously, Josh Berry claimed the victory. Amazing job for him. A track he's won at before in the super late models, a prestigious event there as well. To come and win the Xfinity race, that was huge. For it to be the fact that the 8 car hadn't won since 2006 in Michigan when Dale Jr. drove it, another big thing. It's just a feel-good story. If you just couldn't get behind that, I don't know, you must be emotionless, but that was one of those things where I feel like, it's a story that's going to transcend the sport, and hopefully it gets more coverage and it gets more light on it as the week progresses. But, I couldn't be happier for Taylor or Josh and Dale Jr. and Kelly and everybody on the Junior Motorsports team for having that success. It's just a feel-good story. And then the Dash for Cash was in play, and it was pretty good to see that promotion kind of in place. I know money is a very touchy subject nowadays in NASCAR, but I have always enjoyed the Dash for Cash. I feel like it adds another element to the race. And, that's what people don't understand a lot of the times, is there's always races within races. And this promotion really creates that next level race and in more or less the top 5, top 10 positions when you see these Dash for Cash drivers running in, and it's always fun. So I enjoyed that. Congrats to Noah Gragson on claiming that Dash for Cash money, and I hope that promotion continues, because it really is something that intrigues me race to race. And it was a good Xfinity race. Yeah, I know it started under the lights on Friday night, and then it kind of went to Sunday, but hey, I think that was probably a better logistical move, and either way, the racing was great. I hope we see more Xfinity cars at Martinsville, and we kind of see more of a short track push. Maybe this could be something where we see Xfinity cars kind of at those short tracks that we don't see the Cup guys at too, like back in the day when they went to South Boston and Nashville Fairgrounds. Who knows, maybe we can see that some more, but I'm pretty sure the fans loved it, and it doesn't matter if it rained out. People tuned in and watched or found some way to consume the Cookout 250. All right, on to Sunday. Not Saturday night. Well, I guess it kind of did start Saturday night. 40 so laps got underway. Rusty Wallace was the Grand Marshal, waving the green flag. Got to meet Rusty too. That was kind of nice. Got to do some interviews with him through the relationship I have with Blue-Emu, and that was really fun over the week. And it kind of built up for this event. But getting into the race, it was cool to be at the track. First off, I shot a t-shirt cannon.
Oh, he got it! He got it!
That was sick. Hit a sign, which was sicker. And got to hang out in a suite. I normally don't do that. If I'm at the track, I normally like to have my hands busy in some kind of photo or video project, and I'm working. And it's just nice to kind of take a leisure moment at the track and just soak it in a bit. I was there with my girlfriend, and she had a fun time as well. The people from Blue-Emu always make the racing a blast, and Martinsville is just one of those tracks I highly recommend going and watching a race in person. There is something about short track racing And especially with NASCAR, how you can just enjoy everything that's in front of you, and you don't have to be limited. You know, during the race, I would look at battles that were going on. For example, when Kurt Busch got spun by Eric Jones, I was watching that with my own eyes. When James Davidson got punted by BJ McLeod, I was watching that with my own eyes, and that was really cool to see. And even when James Davidson and Cody Ware got into it, I saw that. When Ricky Stenhouse and Kyle Busch got into it, I saw that. And you kind of don't appreciate that at times, because when I watched the replays of the race, I noticed that those weren't things that were immediately covered during the broadcast, and it took me back a little bit. I'm like, got to enjoy some different perspectives while being at the track. So I always highly recommend going to a race. It's always fun. Spend your money when you can, if you can in your area too, because I know with everything going on right now, we got to be careful and be safe. So make sure if you can get to a race, do it safely. But, you know, either way, I would highly recommend also short tracks too. Go to a short track race, because you can get to see the entire action of the track kind of unfolding in front of you. You don't get that too often with super speedways or the intermediate tracks, but always love a short track. But anyways, the racing was great. I always love Martinsville. I love the green flag feel of a race too. During the first half, when it got to that green flag part and it was just a long run, it was really enjoyable and watch. Some of the guys who had long run cars, some of the guys who just didn't have good pace, seeing drivers who truly were struggling, like Kevin Harvick, and you know, Bubba Wallace was back there as well. There was a lot of drivers who early on got caught down, 2 laps down, and they kind of resurged and came back, and that was great to see too. But you know, after halfway, the race tone changed and cautions started to come out. And you can look at cautions 2 ways. You can look at them as a negative because your coverage of the race is stopped because of a caution. So it's on, off, on, off, on, off. And I get it, the flow isn't there and the rhythm wasn't what was before. But I think the biggest thing that cautions present is the opportunities for free passes and lucky dogs. And those opportunities create more players that come back on the lead lap. And we got to see a lot of teams take advantage of that and rebound and start to have good runs. Though that second half of the race was just, if not more attrition based than the first half, because the amount of carnage during the second half of the race was just insane. But come on, it's short track racing, the fans love it. Kind of a pain to see that for everyone back at the shop who's got to fix those cars. In the end, man, that the final run though, that was great to see. Blaney had the car all day, for sure. I thought Ryan Blaney could finally capture that first victory at Martinsville. He's always been strong at Martinsville. I thought it was his day. But then there was something telling me about that wily veteran, Martin Truex Jr., and I was like, man, he's just back there saving his stuff. And sure enough, he was. He had a better long-run car, and when it mattered, I couldn't have been more behind that 19 team for that lightning-fast pit stop on pit road. Come on, that was amazing. Like, just to step up and be like, all right, it's go time. We're gonna inject it, and we're gonna, you know, send the message to the field that, you know, we're number one, and it's our lead. You're gonna have to take it from us. And though Denny did take the lead from him, Martin did have the better car and came back around and passed him later on and would eventually win. So it's great to see Martin do that, get his 3rd grandfather clock. Really cool to see him burn down the house. That was nice. Blaney did come back to salvage what he could out of it, but you know, it's a shame because he's been so good at Martinsville and just hasn't been able to close it out. So hopefully he can. And then Harvick coming back for a top 10, that was big. There was a lot of good comebacks too throughout the race, and we'll comment on them in a moment with my top 5. But beyond that, I thought it was a great race. Really great to see short tracks. I know Bristol was a dirt race, but this was, to me, like the first true short track race of the season. And I kind of yearn for more. I really wish we could have more short tracks on the NASCAR schedule so fans can enjoy it, the teams can enjoy it more, drivers can enjoy it. It's an homage to the foundation of the sport. You know, everyone comes from short tracks, really, or that's how it was. So I think that's just something we should get back to, and NASCAR should really try to see if they can find some more short tracks to add to the schedules. I get the road courses are great, and street courses could be the future, but short tracks are bread and butter, and you need those foundations. All right, let's jump into my top 5, and that's where I'm going to tell you about 5 drivers that you should have taken notice of during the Blue-Emu Maximum Pain Relief 500. Alright, Christopher Bell, James Davidson, and Kyle Larson were the biggest movers of the race based off of their qualifying positions, but no one passed more cars than Tyler Reddick in the number 8, who had to start at the rear of the field on Saturday. In fact, he was one of the biggest movers on Saturday before the rain delay, and it wouldn't change on Sunday, as he would motor his way to an 8th place finish. Great job, Tyler. Really good run for the RCR team. Many teams fought back from being a lap or more down to have a top 15 or top 10 run during the race. Bubba Wallace, Daniel Suarez, Austin Dillon, Chase Briscoe. But how about Corey LaJoie in the number 7? He looked like he would have been counting dimes and nickels at the end of this one after rebounding from being multiple laps down to run inside the top 15. But the tight confines of pit road would end his day with over 125 laps to go. Still, that number 7 team is one to watch in the coming weeks. Alright, next up, Matt DiBenedetto in the number 21. That guy was used up on Sunday after being involved in 2 on-track incidents, none of which were of his own doing. The People's Champ didn't give up and would finish 12th. That's a good run for Matt considering all the factors. Hey, build from it, man. Top 10s will come. Josh Bilicki in the number 52. Josh, that Insurance King Ford looked clean at the end of the race on Sunday. The man did his thing, staying out of trouble and completing as many laps as possible to finish 23rd. That's Josh's best finish of the season and a career best finish in the Cup Series. Great job, man. Rounding it out is James Davidson in the number 15. The best of the Rick Ware racing cars, James was used up in the first 40 laps on Saturday night, but was able to keep that number 15 clean on Sunday. Moved up from that 37th starting position to finish 22nd. That's James's best finish of the season and his career best finish in the Cup Series. That's a big day for him after he announced he would not attempt to qualify for the Indy 500 so he could focus on the pursuits that he has currently in NASCAR. James, I hope we see more runs like this out of you and your teammate Josh Bilicki when we go to COTA. Great job, man. And that was this week's top 5. Did you have any drivers that you thought should be in that consideration? Why don't you tell me below in the comments or wait till next week to see who we cover. And that's going to do it for the weekend debrief. Thank you so much for your time, patience, and efforts. Tune in next week to see what will happen at Richmond, because Richmond is the action track. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more NASCAR content, and be sure to ring the notification bell so you're reminded when the next video comes up. And also comment below whatever you want to see on the channel. Let me know.